Well, hello there. Welcome back to the channel. My name is James, and here at 20th and 21st Movies, we are about all things cinema. Well, I am really excited today to talk about a recent release from the Criterion Collection that I've been looking forward to seeing and talking about ever since it was first announced in January of this year, 2021, when the Criterion Collection announced that it would be releasing this film as part of its April 2021 slate. And that is the 2003 film from director Bon Joon Ho of Memories of Murder. So this is Memories of Murder. This is from Bon Joon Ho. Bon Joon Ho is the director of Parasite, which was the very first foreign language film to win the Academy Award for Best Picture. Last year it won Best Picture, and this is a film that came out earlier in Bon Joon Ho's career back in 2003. And I'm really excited about talking about this particular title. This is a film that I had not seen previously, so this was a blind buy for me. And I have to say, it definitely met my expectations overall. So this is Memories of Murder. This is the 2003 film directed by Bon Joon Ho, starring Kang-ho Sang and Kim Sang-kyung as the detectives, along with a nice ensemble cast. So this film is based off of real-life serial killings that took place in South Korea in 1986 and 1991 in the South Korean province of Hwasong, which is just south of Seoul, South Korea. This film is based off of the investigation of those murders in this rural community of South Korea during that time. And these crimes went unsolved for many years until very recently with Lee Chun-jae's confession in 2019. So overall, I really like this film. This was a really nice film in my mind. I don't know if I would put it up there with Parasite in terms of blowing my mind at that level, but this is a really solid film that I really enjoyed. And I'll just tell you right off the bat, I enjoyed the film. I think it's a really good movie, really good film from Bong Joon-ho. One thing that did take me aback a little bit that I had to sort of adjust to was the tone of this film. This film took me a little bit by surprise. Given the subject matter of this film, this is a film that's based off of real life serial killings that took place in South Korea in 1986 and 1991. And I was expecting this to be a very serious police procedural investigation type crime drama film. And there's elements of this film that fit that expectation. But what surprised me was the insertion of comedy in this film. This film includes a mix of comedy with the serious crime investigation drama. I wasn't expecting comedy to be laced into this film in the manner that it was. That took me a few minutes to get adjusted to tonally with this film. But overall, I really enjoyed the film. I like this film quite a bit, and I definitely look forward to rewatching it because there's a lot of details and nuances in this film that I think I probably missed upon a first viewing. This is a film that I think will stick with you for a while when you see it. It deals with the subject matter, I think, in a very serious way, but it also mixes in some comedic elements with the way the police investigators interact with each other, where they interact with the criminals and the suspects in this film. Some of the comedy that's used is very interesting. And I think it'll be very interesting to hear some comments below from anyone else who's seen this film. What do you think about the tone of this movie? How does the tone of this movie strike you? Was it off-putting? Did it take you a while to get adjusted to it? Did you end up liking this film? What do you think about the tone of this film as it relates to the mixture of comedic elements with a very serious subject matter? Let me know that in the comments below. So after taking a few minutes to get adjusted to the tone of this film, I have to say I really enjoyed this movie. As a police procedural, as a crime drama, as a police story, as an investigation of these murders that were taking place during this period of time, I think Bong Joon-ho did a really excellent job from a storytelling standpoint of setting the scene, putting you in that place, putting you in that setting where these killings were taking place, setting up the different situations where certain crimes were happening before they happened, setting the tension, building up to certain key moments right before certain murders took place. And then in the aftermath, when the police investigators would go on the scene and see the actual sites of the murders, and then showing the different techniques that they use from an investigation standpoint. I think they did an excellent job putting you in that place, putting you in that setting, and helping you to sort of see what was going on through the eyes of not only the police, but also through the eyes of the victims, what that might have been like at the time that these crimes were taking place. So overall, I think Bong Joon Ho and his team did an excellent job with this story. As you'll see in the supplements for this particular release, you will hear and read a lot about the research that Bong Joon Ho and his team put into making this film. They did a ton of research into what actually happened during that time in Korea from 1986 to 1991. And you see that research really pay off in the authenticity in which Bong Joon Ho and his team present this story. So overall, this film gets high marks from me. It's an excellent film. This is definitely a film I want to rewatch because there's a ton of nuance and details that I'm sure I missed upon a first viewing that I'll probably pick up on upon a rewatch. So this is definitely a movie that I would highly recommend from a film standpoint, especially if you're a Bong Joon Ho fan. If a police crime procedural investigation type drama story is up your alley, if you like those kind of movies, this is definitely one of the best films out there in that genre, and I highly recommend it. This is a really good one from Bong Joon Ho. Quick swig of my Starbucks Columbia roast coffee here from the Curie. It's pretty good. Okay, so let's talk about the video and audio quality on this Blu-ray edition from Criterion of Memories of Murder. So this Blu-ray edition from Criterion is based off of a new 4K digital restoration. So the overall video quality on this disc from Criterion is excellent. This is a very nice picture overall that Criterion has put together with this restoration. The restoration work looks good. This is a very clean looking image. The detail is really nice. There's some nice depth and clarity in the image. The one thing I would point out, or a couple things I would point out with the video quality of this disc is, in addition to it being an overall very nice image, you will want to note that this picture from a color grading, a color timing, I'm not sure what the correct term is, but this is a very green and brown looking film. So from a color standpoint, this film definitely is graded more to the green and brown look. So it's a very green looking movie. And that's something that struck me at first too when I first started watching this. And it's not that it's a bad thing. I think it looks, fine. And once you sort of get adjusted to it, you get into, how the film looks. And based upon the notes that's included in here, it sounds like this was supervised by the cinematographer and from Bong Joon Ho. So this is the intended look of this film. And so that's something you'll want to keep in mind, that this is how Bong Joon Ho and the director of photography want this film to look. So please keep that in mind when you're watching this, because at least on my television, this film seemed to tint a little bit more to the green and to the brown scale from a color standpoint. But overall, the detail is very strong. It's a very nice, pretty organic looking image. And just given some of the settings that you see in this film and being out in the fields and the scenery that is depicted in this film is definitely, as you see here, this green grass on the picture here. So this is a very green film. Green is definitely the primary intended color of this film, and it definitely comes through on this disc. But overall, video quality is very strong on this disc, and I was very pleased with the video presentation here. From an audio standpoint, this is a 5.1 DTS HD master audio soundtrack, and this was an aspect that surprised me as how well this mix really was. There were times watching this film where you would hear sounds from different directions. I thought it was mixed very well. You would hear like cars or a vehicle or some object moving on one side or the other, and you would hear the sound in the appropriate places and moving along the soundscape within your room if you have a surround setup like I do. And I was pretty surprised at how effective of a surround mix it was. This is a really, really nice audio presentation that I think does an excellent job with the dialogue and all of the sounds in the soundscape in delivering a very nice audio experience and helping to tell the story. There's a special feature on here that talks about how Bong Joon Ho uses sound in his films as well as other directors that I highly recommend checking out. But the audio mix on here is excellent. So from a video and audio standpoint, I was very happy with the presentation on this Criterion Collection disc. Definitely check it out for that. All right, so let's talk about the supplements on this release from the Criterion Collection of Memories of Murder. This is overall a really nice addition from Criterion from a supplement standpoint. There's a ton of supplemental features on here that I think you're really gonna enjoy, that's gonna give you a lot of entertainment. This is a 2-disc special edition from Criterion. Let me just run down some of the key features here that you'll want to keep in mind. There are 3 commentary tracks on here. Now, 2 of those tracks are in Korean and 1 track is in English from film critic Tony Raines. I listened to part of the Tony Raines track, and that track from Tony Raines is excellent. He talks about Bong Joon Ho's filmmaking process and talks about the research that Bong Joon Ho went into to making this film and several other aspects of this particular movie. So that is a great track to listen to. And if you can understand and speak Korean, those other 2 Korean tracks are from Bong Joon Ho and cast and crew from the film. So that's something you'll probably want to check out as well. So you got 3 commentaries on that disc 1 where the movie is. So that's definitely something to check out. You also have a new interview with director Guillermo del Toro, who talks about Bong Joon Ho's filmmaking process. I always find it interesting to hear a director talk about another director, because all of these folks sort of steal from one another in one way or another. I shouldn't use that word steal, but they really do, right? No one's style is completely unique. Everybody is inspired by somebody else or other people in some form or fashion or another, right? Everybody is taking inspiration from others. And Guillermo del Toro talks about Bong Joon Ho's filmmaking style in a very interesting way. So it's always interesting to hear directors talk about other directors. You also have on here a documentary from 2004 on the making of the film, which is really good. You've got deleted scenes that are included in here that I watched that are very, very interesting. And then, as I mentioned before, there's a nice interview on here with film scholar Jeff Smith on the use of sound in Bong's work. So in that video feature, Jeff talks about how Bong Joon Ho uses sound in the making of this film and how he uses sound in his other films. But then he also talks about how other directors employ the use of sound and how different directors use different techniques depending on how they're telling the story in their film. So that's a really interesting supplement that you'll want to check out. There's another feature in here called Imagination versus Reality, where Bong Joon Ho talks about the man who confessed to these crimes, the real life killer Lee Chun-jang, who confessed in 2019 to those murders back in 1986 to 1991. And he talks about, in his research at the time he was making the film in 2003, the thoughts that were going through his mind. And if he had a chance to sit down and talk to this man, he talks about some of the questions that he would ask and just his thought process of what types of thoughts must be going through the mind of someone who would do these types of things. So that's a really interesting discussion with Bong Joon Ho that you might want to check out as well. Also on here is Incoherence. This is a 1994 30-minute short film from Bong Joon Ho when he was still in film school. This has also been given a 4K digital restoration, and it's definitely worth checking out as well. So a lot of nice features on these 2 discs from the Criterion Collection. Of course, inside the package here, you've got 2 discs. Of course, 1 disc is in my player, but when you pull out the 2nd disc, inside the package, you see the eyes of Kang-ho Sang. I'm not sure if this is at the end of the film or some point during the movie, but this is actor Kang-ho Sang. And then of course, you also have a nice insert, Memories of Murder, which includes an essay here from Ed Park, which is excellent, which talks about Memories of Murder, it talks about Parasite, it talks about COVID. It talks about a lot of things in this essay, and it's definitely something you'll want to check out. Of course, other information about the film, including the transfer and other pieces of information about the making of this edition for Criterion, Memories of Murder. So excellent, excellent insert. And overall, this is a really, really nice package from Criterion. I think Criterion did an excellent job with this particular film from a restoration standpoint in collaborating with Bon Joon Ho on some new supplemental material. I think they did an excellent job from a video standpoint, audio standpoint. The special features included on both of these discs from the Criterion Collection are excellent and all worth going through. So this is an edition that I highly recommend, and it's definitely one of my favorite editions of the year from the Criterion Collection so far. So we've got a long year to go, but so far this is definitely one of my favorite editions of the year from the Criterion Collection. Okay, so there you have it. Those are my thoughts on Memories of Murder, this recently released edition from the Criterion Collection. Overall, this edition from Criterion is excellent. I highly recommend it. If you are a Bong Joon Ho fan, if you are a fan of crime, dramas and investigations and police procedural type films, this is definitely a film you ought to check out. You'll want to keep in mind that tonally the film is a little bit different than what you might expect. And if you are a Bong Joon Ho fan especially, it's a film that if you haven't seen already, you'll definitely want to check out. So let me know in the comments below, what do you think of Memories of Murder? Have you seen it? Have you picked up this edition from the Criterion Collection? What do you think about this edition if you happen to have it in your collection? Also, let me know in the comments below, what Criterion Collection editions are you most looking forward to picking up in an upcoming sale in July at Barnes & Noble and/or Amazon? Let me know that in the comments below. Also, let me know if there are any films that are on your short list of films that you hope Criterion will announce in the coming months. Let me know that in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time in the movies. Peace.